Okay, so I've got 7 p.m., 2100. I'm sorry. I forgot how to tell time. 1900, 1900, 28 October. This is Tuesday night, 2025. This is LDR 340 Case Studies and Leadership course for the University of Mount Olive. My name is Russ Jamison. I'm the adjunct instructor for this course. This is weekly Zoom session. And these are not mandatory for the students. These are for your use, and these are recorded and posted later to YouTube with a link in the Moodle page. The idea here is to present this not unlike an office hour visit. In the Marine Corps, office hours connotes something bad. This is something you don't want. It's what we could call an NJP, non-judicial punishment hearing under Article 15 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So office hours, if you're showing up for office hours, usually that means not, usually means that's not a good thing. So in this case, we're going to say it is. The idea here is office hour. So you have some time with your instructor if you so choose. So far, nobody has joined. That's fine. Again, it's not mandatory, but if you did and you had a question, concern, comment, you needed something explained more or illuminated, or just wanted to cover some information, um, this would be your opportunity to do it on a one-on-one or face-to-face, so to speak, virtually face-to-face atmosphere. Anyway, if nobody does decide to join, that's fine. I will still speak. These sessions usually last about a half hour to 45 minutes. I don't make these long. Um, I try to get the information out that I think you should have. Usually that means I've talking a little bit too much, but always feel like there's some information I leave on the table. If nobody joins, my intention is to cover the previous week's work, give you an idea of what I'm seeing and some things that I'm thinking, cover the next week's work, roughly what's due. And this session, I will go ahead and talk a little bit about that final paper, the case study and leadership final paper that's due the end of week 7, excuse me, Sunday. All this that I cover is on the Moodle page. There's nothing quite new here or something you don't already have access to. But sometimes it's good just to hear the instructor go over it. So that's predominantly what I will do here. All right. It is cold, wet, and rainy. Cold being the operative word. Um, I don't think it's probably earth-shattering cold for those in the north, but for those of you who, and those of us who have spent some time here in the south, cold and is a operative term. In this case, 56 degrees with slight rain makes it a little bit damp and chilly. I say cold because it almost causes me to break out my winter coat, which is usually a lightweight jacket. All right. Anyway, I hope this finds you all doing well. And let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm sharing my screen. You should see it. It shows the page from Moodle, LDR 340. This is the text, if you will, for the course that we're using, the case study handbook out of Harvard Business Publishing by William Ellett. Course started on 20 October 2025, will end on the 10th of December. So we started on a Monday, we're going to end on a Wednesday. So be aware of that last week being short. Hence the reason we call it a 7.4 weekly course. This is week 2 So we've got 1 week under our belts already, and so I think we've got an understanding now of what we're dealing with and who we're dealing with. I have an idea of how you write. You have an idea of what my expectations are, and understand how the dynamic of the course works. Everybody's done pretty well. We've got one or two of you that haven't quite got there on the work, and I'm certainly encouraged by the others. For those of you who are missing work, I do need to know what your intention is or are to this course. Intentions are as far as it relates to the work. If you're experiencing an issue, we'll certainly communicate that as we take that into account. As I've told some of you others, hey, my job is to get you through this. Now, you'll do the work. You have to do the work. I can't do it for you. But my intention is, my job is to get you through the course and present as best a program as I can. All right. Here are the announcements on the page. I ask you to check this every time you log in. This is where I initially posted the syllabus and a welcome aboard. This is where I post the assignment instructions. As you can see, I've already put out week 1 and week 2. I usually try to put those out on the Friday preceding the week. So the week 3 assignment instructions will go out this Friday on Halloween. I put anything that's late breaking. In this case, we experienced a Amazon Web Service global outage that affected some of the websites, to include Harvard Business Publishing website. Inconveniently timed because that occurred the day the course started, but it appears they got it fixed soon enough without any adverse, or I hope no adverse effects. Case Analysis Coach. This is a online web tool by Harvard Business Publishing. Excuse me as I get a drink of water. And this augments the text in the course. It is self-paced, self-guided. You do this on your own time. I ask that you have it completed before the final exam, please. I sent out the grading rubric that I use on the weekly case analysis. This is the instructor case, and this is that you find at the end of the week. I usually put the case out um, during the week that it's due. You go on Moodle to find it, and I will say that the week 2 case is already there. Here's the overall comment from the week 1 instructor case. This is some trends and general information. So when you turn in a marked requirement, in other words, something to be graded, whether that's discussion forum that I've also asked you to upload as a file, whether that's the instructor case analysis, the weekly case, the final exam, the midterm exam, the final paper, all those, your highest form of feedback will come in the value of your grade. Okay, so if you get an A on that submission, then you know you've done well, exceptionally well. If you get an average, a C, then you've done what the minimum expectation was. If you get less than that, then something obviously was wrong. If you get a 0, that means you didn't turn in the work. Okay? And that is how you failed this course, by not turning in the work. The last announcement is something I will talk about here in a little bit, which is a comment on that final case study in leadership paper. All right. Most of you did the course acknowledgement. Thank you very much. That's over, done with, and graded. You should see your grade in the grade book. We take attendance. Your attendance is required. We take that on Sundays for the preceding week. If you have submitted nothing of substance, you have not sent anything in for work for grading. And this means more than just logging into Moodle. It means actually submitting work. And or if you have not initiated contact with me to ask a question about the subject studied in the course, and I mean more than just a text message, an actual uh, more extensive communication that could come in the form of letting me know the issue, then you will not be counted as present. There is no late in this course since it's online. So it's an either or. You are either attending by uh, submitting work and discussing, that includes the discussion forum, or you have not, which means you are absent. Okay. Regardless of the reason. So if you're absent, then we'll certainly want to know what's going on and why. That's not to be busybodies and to get into your business. It's just to determine what's going on and if there's an issue that needs to be addressed. Okay. All right. Participation. You're expected to participate each week in all the activities. That means you turn in all the work. That means you participate in the discussion boards. You turn in your homework, your papers, your quizzes. Obviously, attendance is taken based on the act of being present. Participation is graded, and that's by the evidence of that participation. So, active participation in team discussion, class discussion, appropriate to the setting means you participate in the discussion forum. You have posted your student selected article and your analysis. Sorry if I slurred my words there a little bit. And on time, and which means your initial post is due on Wednesday evenings at 23:59, 11:59 p.m. And participation includes that you've made comment, feedback on at least two other students' postings for that week. So, two fellow students, you have read their analysis and you've provided comment on those. And that should go more than just a, hey, that's a great post. I agree completely, which is nice feedback to be sure, but advance the conversation a bit. Give them the benefit of your insights and your knowledge. Uh, act like this is Socratic in nature, which it is, and that we can learn from each other so that your posting should be a learning opportunity. Okay, that includes offering relevant comments, as I just alluded to, but also questions. So if you have questions on that post that furthers the discussion, then please do so. In all cases, be mindful of proper decorum and respect, and as we have in a normal class setting, please. Obviously, abusive or out of control response is not tolerated. We want you engaged, and that's what participation means. And that also offers relevant current events to the topics that are at hand. Okay, so if there's a comment on, say, for example, the instructor selected article this past week was regarding Starbucks. If you have a relevant current event that relates to that, then please bring that into the course. What have you selected? And this was great. I'm glad you did. In your student selected article, you selected Cracker Barrel and what went on over the past summer, which was great. I'm glad you did because there's so many leadership uh, aspects to that case that we could pursue, and they're still ongoing. There was a recent article that was a follow-up, explained a little bit more of what happened and what's happened since. So that's the type of relevant current event that I'm talking about. Okay, attendance. This is where I take attendance. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, and here are your tiles for your University of Mount Olive Moodle page. Start here, which many of you've done, which lays out a little bit about the course in the aggregate. So you get here uh, course overview, welcome letter from me. What else do you get here? You get the program learning objectives, the student learning objectives, the PLOs and SLOs for the course, and also talks about assessment, how we assess the course and the grade point. You are on a 1010 point scale for this course. I'm sure most of you already know that, but if not, that's it. You're graded on 1010 points. Okay, syllabus, just as the name implies, that's where you find your syllabi for this course. Student Lounge, you know this because this is where you would have found the Zoom linkage for this course for tonight. Most of you found the introduce yourself, which I appreciate you doing. A couple of you opted not to, which is okay. It's not the introduction is not graded, but it's something that is considered participation. Okay, tech support. That's where you find help for Moodle. Okay, if it's something that I have posted and there's an issue with that in the sense of the content, uh, then by all means inform me and let me know. One of you did previously on an issue, and I was able to correct that, and I am much appreciative of your letting me know and bringing that to my attention. But if it's a problem with Moodle, password reset, there's something technologically glitchy about the site, you're unable to access it through your laptop or whatever device you're using, then I'm going to need you to go to tech support. I don't have permissions by and large. I certainly don't have administrator rights to the Moodle page, so I'm limited in what I can do for you. You will find the help desk and Ms. Joyce Devonshire to be exceptional. They do quick work. They do good work. So certainly feel free to reach out. If it's an issue with Harvard Business Publishing, which is the online case study, then I'll need you to take that up with Harvard Business Publishing through their website or phone number or whatever tech support they use. Okay. All right. We did week one, and week one was quick and dirty. I think it came up on us fast, but everybody handled it well. This is where you will find the module overview, talks about what you're going to cover that week. Here are the MLOs, the module learning objectives. So if you think of nesting, think program learning objectives overarch everything. Within the program learning objectives are the student learning objectives, what you were expected to learn. And then within the student learning objectives, you will find these module learning objectives, okay? Your module learning objectives cover that module, so there are some that may be repetitive because modules have the same goal, but you will also find some that are specific to that module, okay? All right. And then I give you a to-do list, what to read, what to accomplish. This accomplish reading your Wall Street Journal, the discussion forum, the student selected article, and the case writing assignment, the instructor selected article, are something we do every week. So you won't see that changed. There are some weeks where you will see something added to this, predominantly week 4, which includes, which adds the midterm exam, and week 7.4, which adds the final exam, and then week 7, which adds the final paper, your case study paper. Okay, this is the discussion forum. This is where you upload your article with your analysis. That initial upload should be done on Wednesday evenings, as it implies. Okay. Who, what, a critical analysis, and how is what I ask you to provide in that analysis. And then respond to others. Certainly respond to others on Wednesday night as they have posted as well. But I would like you to have your responses posted no later than Friday evenings. So that gives you a couple days to kind of settle in and read through the threads. This is a good opportunity for learning because we learn from each other. Okay. All right. In order to facilitate grading and to comply with some accreditation requirements for the university, I am asking you to do a little extra work, and that is take that student article and that analysis that you did, that you posted to the discussion forum, and upload that as a Word document, or some of you did PDF. You can do that. I would prefer Word, but that's fine. You can do PDF. To this uh, link, okay? I know it's a little onerous, but hopefully it isn't too bad. This is where I will review your posting in more detail, and this is where I will grade. Okay, so it should be the same. And again, same timeline. So, if you upload your student analysis on the discussion forum on Wednesday evening, then do this at the same time. Kill the proverbial 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay. Thank you. Okay, here's the instructor selection. This is where I will post, I say, on every Monday of that week. That's generally true. Okay, it certainly won't be later than that if all goes well. It is very similar to your student-led article. Again, I want to know who, what, the challenges, and how you think they should be handling the challenge. These are due as it implies. Okay, and again, most of you got it. I think there was only 1 or 2 of you that missed your timeline. And again, let me know as the reason why. If you do turn in late, there is a penalty for that in your score. But let me go ahead and cover some overall comments from that week 1 that I shared with you in the announcements so that we've got an understanding of some of the things that I'm seeing. Overall, I think everybody did a great job, to be quite honest. I was very impressed with the candor, the level, the selection. Superb. Okay. And your grade would have reflected that. So if you got an A on your work, there isn't much feedback I can give you that improves on that. I will provide some, obviously. If you did not, or if you got less than a C, believe me, I'll let you know what occurred. Okay. And if you got a 0, then it's self-explanatory. You didn't turn in the work. Okay. And so that's why you got the 0. I can't give you any more feedback than that. All right. So like I said, let's go to that announcements page. And you would find it under overall comment of the week one instructor case analysis. All right, now this is a broad brush. I'm not going to say it was shotgunned out. There was some thought to it. It wasn't scattered. It hits specific points. Take it as it applies. Okay, if you, for example, turned it in on time, and you see here I said if you submitted your work late, then you lost points, then obviously this doesn't apply to you. If you sent it in on time, then it was on time. All right, so take this for what it's worth, but it's all trying to make sure that we're all seeing the same thing. Okay. For week one, again, I think everybody did a great job. In fact, I would say this has got to be the best I've ever seen in years of teaching this course for week one submissions. Okay. The first thing is on format. I didn't take any points this week on that because again, we're trying to get used to each other, but I will take points off in the future if it continues. Read the format details that I have provided in syllabus Moodle, please. Okay, make sure you answer all the questions. Okay, if you didn't answer all the questions, then you lost points. In answering the questions, I will talk a little bit later about what I call the quote unquote so what, the bottom line, if you will. Okay. I suggest and I recommend everybody use APA format paragraph headers in your work. Okay. This will help you. Okay. Those paragraph headers can align directly to the questions assigned. Make those your paragraphs. Okay. This helps you organize your thoughts. That would ensure you answer all the questions, and this greatly assists your reader, i.e., me, in identifying that you answered all the questions and where to go to find your analysis. Okay. It's pretty clear. It's not involved. It's just as the name implies, it's the use of paragraph headers to identify each supported paragraph. And I certainly recommend you do that on your final paper. Again, look at what the requirement is and make those to include an introduction and a conclusion paragraph headers. Okay. Introduction, conclusion. Okay. And then the meat in that within the introduction and the conclusion should be those questions that I've asked you and that you use as paragraph headers so you can provide a solid discourse and response. Okay, the so what? All right, well, this is a leadership course, so I'm going to ask you the results uh, of how you are as a leader. Okay, so when you answer the question, I ask that you answer with quality, show some depth and understanding of what you're doing. All right, remember in this course, I'll say this a few more times, the fundamental relationship, the one that matters the most, is your conclusion and the evidence used to support it. Okay. So, on a couple of the questions that I ask you each week, it's very simple answer. Okay. Who is the protagonist? Identify that person. Okay. Pick one and use that. This only helps you uh, neck down the article and help you so you're not having to write about everybody in that story, okay, which would just be too onerous. Think of yourself as a leadership consultant, okay? Find the leader in that article and then act like you have been retained to provide input and to a degree accountability to help that person out, okay? Based on your knowledge of leadership that you've learned from LDR 300 and from your life's experiences. All right, so show some depth and quality. The other thing that I ask is your article analysis based on a problem diagnosis, a decision, or is it an evaluation? Okay, those are three distinct things that you'll find. You should start already learning that from your reading your text this week. Okay, yes, many of you said it can be either a problem or a decision or an evaluation or all three. True, but I want you to pick one. Okay, it doesn't mean you're going to pick a wrong one. I can look at the same article or a situation that you are and come up with a different viewpoint, aspect, leadership principle, etc. That's just the nature of the beast. Okay, there is no wrong answer in this sense. Uh, so if you're not sure, uh, that's fine because it could be a mix of both. But what I want you to do is I want you to pick one because that's what your analysis is based off of. And again, if you're trying to do an analysis based on a decision and then do it based on a problem diagnosis and then do it again as a comparison, you are spending a lot of time and that's a lot of work. And that's fine if you want to do it, but that's doing more work than is required. Okay, so when you identify the protagonist, then tell me what you're doing the analysis as. Are you doing it as a problem diagnosis? Are you doing it as a decision? Are you doing an evaluation? Okay, one of the three, please. Don't try to do all three. All right. And then what the leadership challenges are and how you think they should. Remember, you'll read in all these cases predominantly on problem diagnosis and decision. A action plan is the critical piece of that analysis. In other words, what you think the protagonist should be doing or will have done. Okay. So it's more than just saying, hey, he did this or she did that. It's more than, I think the leadership challenge here is change or communication. Okay. It's more in depth. Uh, Speak to it. Remember the principles, the concepts, the models that you learned in LDR 300. And I provide slides from LDR 300 in each of the modules for your review. Hopefully, you still have your text and can reference that. I think you should hold on to that text because I think it's a good one. I'm talking about the LDR 300 text by Daft. Uh, but if not, at least you have your notes from your previous course. All right. Again, this is a leadership class. Okay, so how do you do this as a leader? Some of you in your student articles started getting into policy as if it was a political science course. Some of you were getting into marketing. Some of you were getting into international trade, which is economics. Some of you were getting into distributive education. Uh, that's all, which is retail. This is fine in a sense of setting up what you're getting at, but I want you to focus in on the leadership principles, okay? Certainly, if you were doing an article on international trade and, a couple of you picked articles with the President of the United States in it and identified him as your protagonist, which is fine, but talk to it from the framework of leadership, okay, and the principles that you have, okay? We don't need to know, he should only raise tariffs by 10% and not 25%. That's beyond the scope of the course. Okay. And if you are an expert in that field, then certainly identify yourself as such and bring that into the discussion. But again, we're trying to focus in on uh, the basic fundamentals of leadership. Okay. Hope that makes sense. All right. And that is what I'm getting at in this next paragraph here. Use concepts and terminology that have been covered in not just the text you're reading now, which is critical, but also what you learned from LDR 300, which was a prerequisite. If you have not taken LDR 300, you need to let me know that because that was a prerequisite to this course. Okay. And again, remember, these are marked requirements designed for you to demonstrate mastery of the course material. So we want to try to use the course material. Okay. All right. For everybody, I'm not a fan of AI, and I want you to be cautious using artificial intelligence. I want you to do your work. That said, there are forms of AI that are out there that should be used. So, for example, spell check could be considered a form of AI, I guess. Grammarly can be used. So I want you to use all that, but go beyond spell checking and use of Grammarly and actually proofread your paper because spell check will not distinguish the right homophone. Um, and that could be actually that could be hubris when the wrong word is used. Okay, so you may have spelled the word right, which spell check will certainly agree with you, but it might have been the wrong word. Okay, so let's try to let's try to use some of those tools. Okay. All right. And again, if you're missing work, then make sure you and I have talked on what the plan is. And again, I think, and then I provide you a little bit of a primer, and I'll do that every week. That is hopefully a recap in many ways of what you've got from LDR 300, but I may also provide you some insight beyond that. All right. So let's go, since we're in week 2, you will see again the module overview. I'm not sure why I bolded chapter 3 and 4 out. I made a mistake on that, but still, I guess it'll be fine. It's not a critical error. But it tells you what we're trying to do in the module. And then, of course, I talk about the case analysis coach. These are those module learning objectives for the course. Your to-do list, read chapters 3 and 4. Again, you're reading, scanning the Wall Street Journal to come up with that student article and the instructor article. Okay. And again, same type of battle rhythm, if you will, same type of rhythm. Discussion forum. Also upload your article to this link. Here's where you find the instructor selection. And look at that. I've already got the instructor article picked. Okay. All right. Now, the other thing in week 2 that I've asked you, and by Sunday night, if you will, I want you to give me the company that you were intending to write your paper off of. Okay. So let's talk about that real fast. So the paper is a case study, and that is found here since it's due on Sunday, the 2nd of November. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not due on the 2nd of November. It's due on the 7th of December. Sorry for the scare there. Okay. The paper is due no later than 23:59, 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, 7 December. Okay. 2025. Vice the day that will live in infamy of 1941. Okay. What I ask you for this Sunday, the 2nd of November, is to identify the company that you'll be writing on. Okay. Your case study isn't about the company per se in the aggregate. Okay. It is a leadership. All right. So we're going to find leadership issues that are going on in that organization. Okay. So be mindful of your introduction paragraph. Okay. Certainly you identify the company, talk about the company in the aggregate, but that should set the stage. Okay. Don't get too much in this and make that most of your paper, and then you give short attention to the remaining questions that I ask, okay? So again, introduce the company, okay? Provide me that name, if you will, by Sunday, okay? That could be a simple email to me. You can also identify it in your discussion forum, okay? When you upload your student article, you could put in a side comment. I'll read it there, okay? But once you've done that, you are going to describe the current issues that are being analyzed. Again, those are leadership issues. You'll explain the importance of those elements, okay? And again, how those leadership issues affect within the framework of, for example, organizational culture, structures, leadership styles, ethical climate. Okay, you know what we're looking for. Okay, and then just like you're doing every week, you're going to analyze those issues in the format of a problem diagnosis, a decision, or an evaluation. Okay, just like you're learning. That is used by its leaders. And when I say leaders, I'm going to ask you, try to focus in again, if you can, on the protagonist, uh, the CEO or whoever is responsible for those issues you're seeing in the company. If there is more than one leader you need to talk about in your paper, then do so, but just be cognizant. Okay. Explain the importance of the type of leadership concepts used in the case. Okay. Again, this gets back to what you've already learned in LDR 300. Identify the ones that should have been used. And again, that all important conclusion and your recommendations. Okay. I give you a length. Okay. I will tell you right now, I don't grade based on number of pages or words. If you can answer all of these, and again, I recommend you use paragraph headers to make sure all of these are in your paper. Okay. All 6. But if you could do all this in less than, 3 pages, fine. I don't think you can, but brevity is the soul of wit. If you can uh, do that, then great. If it takes you 25 pages, then okay. As long as you haven't just been throwing words out, you're answering. Okay. So again, what I'm telling you is I want to see the quality of your work, not grading on the fact that you should have done it in 7 to 10 pages and you did it in 12. Okay. I'm not worried about that. It's predominantly more give you an idea of the work that you need to put in. Okay. All right. Double spaced 1-inch margins. We say typed, of course. I mean, I guess I don't want to read handwritten PDF. 12 font. Okay. Proper spelling, grammar, APA formatting, as well as the components above. Okay. All right. But again, let me try to get that organization from you. I will start assembling a slide. I'm sharing that with you on my screen, I hope. Okay. So everybody sees it. I'm going to try to make sure that we all have a different company or organization. Okay. I keep saying company, but it could be, your church. It could be, your farm. It may not necessarily be a, Fortune 500 company or whatever they are these days. Okay. All right. I hope that explains it fairly well. Again, we'll talk some more, and I will certainly provide you the grading rubric I will use for your final paper. I will probably send that out uh, probably during week 5. Okay, so we're still a couple weeks in, but again, let's try to get that name and let's start thinking about it. This should be the time you start assembling your articles, your material, uh, your evidence, if you will, for what you're going to write about. Okay. All right. So I've talked for 45 minutes now. This is going to cut off on me here in a few bit. Again, nobody joined, which is fine. Again, this is not mandatory, but this is an opportunity in case you have additional questions. So far, from the looks of it, Nobody does. You're doing so far a great job, really strong out of the gates, and ask that you keep charging and keep that going. Okay, thank you for your attention. Thank you for being in the course. It's a real pleasure to have you in the class, and I'm excited to read what you come up with. I read everything you submit, and I wish you the best during the week and hope everybody is enjoying God's richest blessings as we head into a joyous holiday season here in a few weeks. Okay? All right. Thank you again.